Joining us right now is one of the assemblymen who sponsored New York State's Responsible AI Safety and Education, or RAISE Act, Assemblyman Alex Bores, who is leading the future super PAC. That super PAC Emily was just talking about has taken aim at the assemblyman as he vies for Congressman Jerry Nadler's House seat. That PAC accused the RAISE Act of, in their words, slowing American progress and opening the door for China's victory in the global AI race. And Assemblyman, thank you for joining us this morning.
Thanks for having me.
Just so people know, you're not just an assemblyman, you are also someone who has a master's in computer science from Georgia Tech, and you worked as an engineer at Palantir for 4 years before you quit.
I did, and I have 2 software patents as well.
So what do you think about AI? What raises your concerns? What should legislators be taking aim at?
I'm very bullish on the power of AI. I take the tech companies seriously for what they think this could do in the future, but the same pathways that will allow it to potentially cure diseases could allow it to, say, build a bioweapon. And so you just want to be managing the risk of that potential and making sure if we're going to get the positives that we're limiting the downsides of it.
How do you go about limiting the downsides while still saying, okay, we can use this to its fullest capabilities?
Thankfully, the companies themselves gave us a roadmap. They made voluntary commitments to the past White House, and they've done it in a number of international summits that say they'll have safety plans, they'll report critical safety incidents, and they won't disclose models that pose an unreasonable risk. All the RAISE Act does is put those commitments into law.
Then why is the super PAC taking aim at you in such a big way?
Because they don't want there to be any regulation whatsoever. Part of my congressional platform is doing a national standard. If that's what they really wanted, they'd be supporting me. But instead what they're saying is the fact that you dared step up and push back on us at all means we need to bury you with millions and millions of dollars.
I mean, I don't know everything in the RAISE Act. I don't know everything that these companies have made a commitment to. But you are saying it's literally only asking them to codify what they have voluntarily agreed to?
Basically, and it's a lot less than they've already publicly committed to through, say, the European Code of Practice.
Andrew, I think, has a question as well. Andrew?
Yeah, the thing I was going to ask you is, I've heard some folks in the AI community or industry compare this to emission standards by states and the efforts to undo, frankly, what California had done. This idea that we effectively just need one federal standard, that we shouldn't have. This goes to a states' rights issue versus a federal issue. And even just if you could speak to that very issue of states' rights versus the Fed.
Well, states have a natural role as the laboratories of democracy. We can move a lot quicker than the Federal Reserve. We pass many more laws every year, and we revise them quickly. And so that's why you see, for example, 20 states have privacy laws, but we're still waiting on a federal one. So what we're seeing in AI is natural. States are stepping up and moving quickly. We should eventually have a federal AI standard. I strongly agree with that. But what's being debated right now is, should we stop the states from making any progress before the feds have solved the problem, or should we actually work together to have the federal government solve the problem?
I mean, that's an interesting point. It would be better to have a federal standard. Interstate commerce laws say that the federal government should overrule the states' rights. What would you like to see happen at a federal level?
I would like to see basically a version of the RAISE Act. I think safety standards that the companies have to make public, that they're held to, disclosing critical safety incidents. We just saw 2 weeks ago Anthropic talk about how China used their model to do a cyber attack on U.S. government institutions and our chemical manufacturing plants. Shockingly, they didn't have to disclose that. I think that should be law and be required for every major AI developer.
What is the biggest pushback? If there's 1 point or 2 points that these companies look at and say, we don't want to do this, we would comply and agree to all these other things, what's the one biggest pushback point?
The biggest pushback is the legal standard that they should not release models that their own tests show have an unreasonable risk of causing harm. But that's designed to basically avoid the problem we had with the tobacco companies, where they knew that cigarettes caused cancer, but denied it publicly and continued to release their products. We're saying you're the experts, you do the tests, but if you fail your own tests, that should be its own legal standard.
Look, so you can say social media companies went through the same process where they knew children were being preyed on. They knew that teenagers had bad body images because of these things. That's a a fairly difficult standard to get your head around. If you know you're hurting one person, you shouldn't be released. Or if you know you're hurting 100,000 people, it shouldn't be released.
The standard in the RAISE Act is a substantial risk of killing 100 people or leading to $1 billion in damage. This is not saying a small little risk. This is talking about the largest risks possible. And we're just putting a backstop on people acting incredibly irresponsibly.
What do you think about the super PAC coming after you? They've got a lot of money.
Yeah, I mean, they are telling New Yorkers that I am their biggest threat for their quest on unbridled power over the American worker and our energy bills and the safety of America. And they're right.